Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're checking out Himari Bahamut as a part of Max Factory's Godz Order, the PLAMAX Godz Order line. It's such a complicated name, if I had to say. Max Factory, PLAMAX, Godz Order, and then the actual model kit itself, Himari Bahamut. But anyway, this is obviously the sister unit to the Ren Fire Dragon kit, which we took a look at in the last video. If you guys missed that, you can go back and check that out. And then these are the third and fourth releases in this line of Godz Order kits. We have also checked out the first and second releases. If you guys missed those reviews, you can go back and check those out as well. But as I've said before, I'm a big fan of this series of kits. They're really cool, really nice designs, and just really unique. So if you guys are looking forward to these as well, then stay tuned. We're going to get into it here with Himari Bahamut. All right, and as we saw with the previous kit in the lineup of Ren Fire Dragon, here we've got really cool box art all the way around this box with some really awesome box art here on the front. But this continues on to the side with that close-up artwork of the character's face being on this side with all the titling here, Godwing, Dragon Knight, Himari Bahamut, Soul Injection File 04. On this side, we have the full armor kind of artwork right there. On this end of the box, we've got a photo of the actual painted model kit in the full armor version, and on the other side, the painted model kit in just kind of the unarmored version, just the kind of standard clothing. So I love that all four sides of the box are all different. But yeah, the box art here on the front just looks really, really nice there with that awesome illustration from Akiman, so really nice. The back side here is where we do have some more photos of the built and painted kit. There you can see it side by side with the Ren Fire Dragon kit there. And on the bottom here, some more photos just showing all of the contents that you're gonna have inside, what the kit looks like front and back without the armor. And then over here, what the kit looks like just built straight out of the box without any painting or anything else done on that. It looks really, really nice. And as we saw with the Ren kit, these kits have a lot of stuff inside, so you're definitely getting your money's worth just from all the stuff that you get in here. The runners and parts and everything we'll take a look at momentarily. First, just to take a look at our other stuff in here. Once again, we are going to have a sticker sheet for adding some more details and colors to some of the smaller color apps there, and some waterside decals you can use for adding some markings, some lining bits for around on like the skirt, and then some eye decals you can use for the blank face parts that we do have included if you wanted to customize your faces a little bit there. And then once again, we've got two booklets in here, one being our instruction booklet. We'll take a quick look through this because this is going to be pretty straightforward, but beautiful illustration work on the front. We got the full illustration, the Godz Order logo on the back. On the inside here, a little bit more information about the kit, including some more photos of the kit in a few different poses, showing off some of the different weaponry, and there's all of our included option parts and everything up there. On the next page, we've got our parts list. These highlighted parts are going to be parts that are pre-printed. X'd out parts are going to be parts that are unused for this kit, so there will be a fair amount of leftover parts, it looks like. On the next page here is going to be our sticker guide, where all the stickers are going to be placed around on the kit, so good reference photos for that. And then our construction, and all the construction is going to be here in full color. So that looks really nice. Continuing all the way to the very end here is just about kind of how to use all of our different weaponry, the shield and everything like that. The shield looks really cool there, sort of made out of dragon scales, sort of, I think is what that's supposed to look like, but pretty awesome. But then for the other booklet here, this is the one that's super, super cool, as on the backside we have this short like kind of mini comic there. That looks nice, and on the inside we've got more information kind of about the character and the story. Now everything's here in Japanese, but I seem to have given myself a paper cut opening up this instruction manual here. Anyway, like I said, more information about the character, including some additional illustrations. And there's always like this alternate costume kind of illustration here, where in this case she's in this kind of dress there, kind of more casual attire. And then on the next page, again, we got the full illustration accompanied by some illustrations of the equipment and then alternate kind of face options and some more stuff there. The next page has more information about the world for this, and this looks like maybe this is the same kind of world pages that we saw with the Ren Fire Dragon kit. I'll have to go back and double check, but I think these pages might be the same. Our next pages here, oh, this might be the same as well. This is episode 003. I think that's what it was for that one as well, was it? Let me just double check. No, it's definitely not. So Ren had a 002 episode, and the world pages are the same, but the episode is different. So this is the next episode, episode 003. It's kind of like a light novelization, like I said before, and then we got a few more illustrations of the character right there in kind of a school uniform and also a school swim uniform. The next page here, this is going to be that interview with Akiman and Max, and although it's slightly different, it does say 004, where the Ren booklet did say 003, and the color of the pages is different here. The actual text looks to be exactly the same for this interview portion, so that's kind of a shame that it's not different, but this is basically going to have all the same illustrations, it looks like, and artwork, images and everything in there, and the text is all going to be the same for this interview portion. It's just that the background of the pages is blue instead of red is kind of the only difference. But then here on the last page, we do have some more information about the designing of the kit there, it looks like, and you can see some more of that. And again, we have this to be continued teaser over here showing the first 4 that are currently released, and then the next 3, which we can hope to see, I don't know, later this year or next year, hopefully. We'll see the continuation of this line. As for the rest of our contents, here we've got our pre-printed faces, 3 different options for that, and those look really nice. We'll take a closer look in the review portion of the video. We've also got a pre-printed part there for the open mouth. We've got our soft plastic parts here in white for the pants and for this part here for the front of the clothing. Love the detail on that. This is going to be a soft flexible part there that can move as the kit moves, but those all look really nice. And then getting into the runners here, we've got our clear parts here for the display base. Really nice options for that as well. Works perfectly for the kit. And then our hand options, we've got 1 set of hand option parts here in skin tone, weapon holding hands, open expressive hands, and closed fists. And then once again with this one, like we saw with the Ren kit, we've got these gunmetal like silver colored parts here for the armored hands, closed fists and open expressive hands, as well as 2 different types of weapon holding hands there. Up next, runner A1 here in this light blue is going to be all of our hair parts, whereas runners A2 and A3 are going to be blank face parts here and that blank open mouth part there respectively, if you wanted to paint those yourself or use the included decals for the eyes on those blank faces. Runners B and C here are going to be some parts for the body there in blue. Runner D here in a very light gray, slightly off-white kind of color there, some parts for the arms. And runner E is going to be the rest of our skin tone colored parts for the kit, basically the tops of the thighs and the unarmored arms. Runner F here in white is going to be mostly parts for the skirt with a bunch of blue pre-painted on these white parts. That's going to look really nice there on the kit as well. Runners G and H are going to be here in this light brown color for the shoes and for some of these like leather strap kind of detail parts there. Again, the same color that we saw for the Ren kit. And then runner I we have in both skin tone and in gunmetal for the wrist joint parts there mostly. Runner J we have 2 of for some connection type polycap type of parts, even though this is not a soft or polycap material. These are going to act similar like polycaps, just some connection parts there in blue. And then runner K we have in both blue and in gunmetal here for some more connection parts there. Runner L in this very dark gunmetal color here for some of the parts, basically for like that backpack sort of section there, and then the kind of sword to dagger part there. And then runner M, some more parts here in blue for the wings on the side of the legs and some of these skirt armor sections right there. Now we're getting into some of the runners that are shared between Ren and this kit. Here we have runner N, which is going to be some more parts here in that silver gunmetal color. Runner O has some more parts there, mostly for the legs in blue. Runners P, Q, and R are going to be blue parts for in the legs, and then Q and R in white and in dark gunmetal going to be parts for the shoes. Up next then, runners S and T. Runner S is in a dark navy blue color there. Runner T is some more parts here in blue. Runner U1 and U2 are some more parts here in that silver gunmetal. We've got 2 of runner U2. And from here we're getting into some of the parts for this kit, specifically with runner V, some more parts there in silver. Runner W, gonna be our kind of blue part there for the shield. Runner X in that dark gunmetal. Here we've got 2 of those for the swords on the backpack. And then runners Y and Z, some parts for the main weapon. Love the detail and the intricate design here for like the main kind of trident weapon here on runner Y. And then runner Z is just basically gonna be the handle part for that here in blue. Lastly, runners HA and HB. Runner HB is just a few more parts there in blue for on like the decorative parts there on the knee. Runner HA is interesting because it's a really quite large full runner here of some more parts, again for most of like the decorative armor parts around on the kit, just more parts here in that silver gunmetal color. So really quite impressive looking. Let's go ahead and get it all built up and then we'll check it out. All right, and here she is all built up. Not only do I really like the fact that each of these kits in this series has like a different style and color scheme to it, so they all are very similar, and even like share some parts, but each kind of have their own flavor to them. This one's style is really cool as well, with like the nautical sort of theme to her armor and everything, which we'll take a look at here in just a minute. But the other really nice thing about these is just the size of them. They're fairly good size, being larger than like your standard Megami Device kit, something a little bit closer to like a Frame Arms Girl's size, if not maybe even slightly larger than that. So very nice and comfortable size here for these as well. And so just to start off, we've got our clear display stand here with a couple of points of articulation and two different options for these connection arms. You have two short ones and two long ones that you can use in any combination. Usually I find just the two short ones is plenty enough to get the kit elevated. Also, once the kit is loaded up with everything, it does get a little bit heavy, and this arm can hold it up pretty well enough, but I don't think that these longer arms holding it up like even higher is really going to do you all that much good, so not really necessary those. And then as a reminder, you do have your blank face options that you can use the waterslide decals or paint on if you wanted to, but of course our pre-printed face option parts here look really, really nice. The colors and details on these, so here you have this smiling face, you have this more kind of pouty face there, and then for our alternative head here, I have the third face on that, which is this angry face with the mouth open. And then just to show off the alternative head here for the full armor head is really cool, really ornate here with these sort of fin leaf sort of looking parts here off the back, and has a sort of aquatic vibe to it, right, with this long horn out the front and these long spikes there. You have a little blue sticker there for that detail in right there, and these long thin parts here which you can swap out basically for those bits there on the top of the head. You can have those, or if you pop those out, you can plug these ones on instead. Now you're going to want to be very careful with these as not to break them, but those are going to look really cool on the kit. But yeah, just super cool head design here for the armored head. Going down here to the arms, then you have just these flesh tone colored arms. Alternatively, you have these sleeved arms there, which we've seen with past releases. These are slightly shorter, but still these flesh tone hands are what's going to work in there with those if you wanted to swap out the arms. And on the note of the hands, you have closed fists there. Obviously, you also have a set of open expressive hands like so, as well as a set of weapon holding hands for both the left and the right side. And for when we go to the armored form, you have the fully armored arms here, exactly the same as what we saw on the past kit. Ren from the series had these same kind of armored arms there. Really cool design on those. And for armored hand options, we have closed fists, open expressive hands like this, and then two different types of weapon holding hands, one for smaller weapons, one that is for larger weapons with the trigger finger extended there on that for holding weapons that have a little bit larger size handles. For the skirt pieces, you have an alternate set of these front inner skirt pieces here. The ones that I have on there at the moment are the rounded type, basically, so you can see the difference. If you have these rounded type, I think they just work better to just be more out of the way for different poses. Whereas if you use both of these squared off pieces, they kind of complete a full covering more so there in the front. But this printed soft piece here usually covers the gap that's left by those two rounded parts not coming fully together in the middle. You're just going to be covered by this center part right there. Anyway, here for this side skirt armor panel over here on the side, if you wanted to have this piece here, you can swap that out. This just has a hard point there in the middle for being able to plug on this small sword that can come out of there like so. It's just all one single molded piece there, and does fit in rather loosely here, so be careful not to lose it while you're just trying to get the kit into a pose. But that just sits on the side like so. Around here on the back, once again, we have our set of swords, which is going to connect into the lower back like that. These are on these somewhat articulated arms here that can move around a little bit. And once again, I love the fact that the two swords that we have here are in a different style. Each of the 4 kits of this series now each has a little bit different style here for these swords on the back, and I really enjoy that about this series of kits. Those can be removed from there and then just used in the hands like so. Very cool. Going down here for the shoes, before we swap the legs entirely, you have two different options there. You can have these more multicolored tennis shoes, sort of looking sneakers that look pretty cool, or you can just opt for the simpler sort of style, like school type shoes or something like that, I think is what these are kind of meant to look like. They're in a light brown color. Those do have a little bend there in the toe, whereas these ones here on the kit at the moment do not. They even have a hollow gap a little bit there on the underside of the shoes, but they do look pretty cool here on the kit. Then of course we're going to swap the leg entirely there at the hip, just going to remove that leg and swap it out here for this one. In this case, mostly the same parts here for the armored leg, just the knee part's going to be different with our, again, like kind of sort of our aquatic theme there to that, and that silver part just under the knee also a little bit different, but otherwise the parts are going to be the same here for the wing part. That's a blue piece right there. That second little bit of blue and that third bit of blue here along the top are going to be a couple of stickers. Also, the eyes are of course orange stickers there, and then here the little bit of text is a sticker. The two silver dots and the silver line there, those are also stickers here on the legs. I love the leg designs here for these. You have these large high-heeled feet there on the bottom, these sort of strap details here on the back, and when you bend the joint here in the knee, you can sort of just manually adjust the angle of the knee there to kind of fix that, and then the wing part is just on a ball joint so that can move around into different positions. Really nice. And then of course for our handheld weaponry, we've got her long lance weapon here, molded in blue and silver. All the blue accents you see up here are all stickers, as this is originally just all silver parts there. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 stickers to put on each side of that, but very cool. And the nice thing about this weapon is that although it's quite large, and here you can see just the overall length can be much longer than the kit itself. That said, the legs are much longer once you swap to the armored legs. Still, the nice thing about this weapon is that it's pretty light in hand, so it's not gonna give us any weight issues, I imagine. Lastly, then we just also have the shield. So it's just a blank surface here in the center, but we can stick that sticker on that to give us that really cool motif. Around here on the back side, you have a couple of different options for the handle. You can opt for just this single handle like that, or a combination of like this one here, which the arm will fit through, and then this handle here, so you can have like the arm going through under the strap and then holding on to this handle here, basically by using these two hard points there on the sides instead of this one there in the center. Alternatively, you can see there's like sort of an imprint of the handle, so you can take this one out. Then we have a different version of that handle, but this is going to fit in here in a way that it's just basically folded down and flush, so it makes it look like the handle just kind of folds down flat, even though it doesn't actually do that. It's just a matter of part swapping that little piece, but you can make it look like it does. So once again, like all the rest of the kits in the series, you can see we just have a ton of option parts. Now the good thing is that unlike with Ren, the previous kit we took a look at, she had pretty heavy weaponry that were a little bit difficult to pose just because they were rather large and heavy. In this case, we've got the shield and the lance, neither of which are very heavy and shouldn't give us any issues when posing. But posing this kit is pretty simple. You have single joints in the elbow and in the knee, but that gives us a pretty good range of articulation with also having a joint in here in the torso between the top and bottom half of the torso. So you can bend that, and this nice long piece down the front and center is going to be flexible as it is in that softer sort of, I think it's like a rubbery sort of softer plastic anyway that they use for that. So a very cool design here for this one. Let's go ahead and try out some poses here with her. And again with this one, as I think I talked about in the review for Ren in the previous review, one thing that I really like about these kits is just like the story, the lore of them, and you can really get that sense just with the kit itself. Each of these kits, especially if you have, you know, more than one, once you get a few of them and you kind of have them all posed together, you can see how they're all, you know, basically the same, just with different variety in terms of like the weapons, the color scheme, obviously. But I think these designs are just really well done. You can definitely see that there's like a story behind the different characters and everything. But then of course we do have that additional paperwork in the manual, kind of that extra booklet that gives us some more about the background and the story of the characters and everything like that. So it's all very interesting, and definitely one thing that's really great about this series of kits. As I've talked about before, I know that these kits are a little bit pricey, especially when compared with a lot of other different, you know, similar type kits, something like 30-Minute Sisters or Frame Arms Girl, Megami Device, all this kind of similar type of Mecha Musume style model kit, even though these have a very unique styling to them, being much more like fantasy than mecha, sort of mecha fantasy, I guess, if that is a thing. So these are definitely unique in that, but compared to a lot of other kits, these can be a bit pricier, but I think you just get a ton in there, especially with like how detailed these kits are with all the armor and everything, especially, and the different option parts and weapons and everything that you get with this. You certainly get a lot of value for the price. You got the water slide decals, the stand, and everything else included in there. So you really kind of don't need anything other than what you have in the box. Everything that you could possibly want is kind of included in there. And as I mentioned there, some of the weapons in this series can be kind of heavy and hefty for the kits to really be able to wield without tightening up some of the joints or something like that. In this case, the cool thing about this one is that you don't really have that issue. Not that it's really that much of an issue for the other releases, but it's certainly not an issue for this one. So it's definitely another really awesome release in this series, and definitely looking forward to some more in the future. I know, as we've seen in like the instruction manual and the art book, there are more characters in the works, and looking forward to those. We did recently have the announcement of the next one that's going to be coming out, I guess, which is going to be Gabriel. This really cool gold looking one that, although it does have a similar look, I mean, it looks like it's going to be coming out like in this same line. It breaks away from the mold that we've seen so far, basically, where kind of all the first 4 releases are all just kind of variants of each other. The next one definitely looks different, and I'm very excited about that. But until then, guys, if you want to check out some of these kits for yourself, check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. Got some more great stuff there on the website for you guys. You can pre-order the next one too if you want to. But until next time, if you guys wouldn't also mind leaving a like while you're here and making sure that you're subscribed, I really appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much. Until the next video, hope y'all are having a great day. See y'all later. Bye, guys.